Hey everybody, I'm Mark Reith here with Bill Mann, and today we're talking about our Foolanthropy Holiday Drive, specifically the charity we've chosen for this year's Foolanthropy Holiday Drive. But before that, Bill, let's talk a bit about what to do as an investor during the holidays if you wanted to give back. This year's Foolanthropy campaign is built around the concept of giving well, and you've actually talked about that in the past with telling fools to give like an investor.
That's right.
But what does that even mean?
Well, a few years ago, as I was beginning to look into the charitable giving with our family, about the same time that we were starting to choose, I noticed that someone had given $100 million to Harvard University, which is pretty good for Harvard, but I really stopped to think, what good does that do for society? I mean, Harvard is one of the richest institutions in the world. It's really charity that's really more for the benefit of the person who's giving than for any societal impact. So we began to look into where we could give money that it would have the biggest impact on people's lives. I mean, you think, at the Motley Fool, we talk about investing all the time of maximizing your return. What was the maximum that I could return on my charitable investment?
Well, where did you look? Where can investors like us look?
So if you think about it, there are very, very certain places where you can find charities that are doing a lot of good, and they tend to come in certain areas. They tend to be in areas that suffer from deep poverty. They tend to be in areas where there's really no champion. They're types of things that we here in the West have never even really heard of. And the third thing about it is that it's something that seems kind of weird. It's something that when you hear about it for the first time, you think, no, that can't be. There's no way that that's something that that exists. It tends to be something that's not fatal. It tends to be an affliction, and it tends to be debilitating over a long period of time. And if you can give people back a quality of life over a long period of time, you are really maximizing your return on your charity.
That sounds almost clinical, though, in a way. Shouldn't charity make me feel good? Shouldn't I be giving to you?
Well, sure, absolutely. And a lot of people do. There are a lot of people who believe in things, or they have someone who's been impacted by something. And I would never cast aspersions on that type of charitable giving. You should always feel good about your charity. But when I started to think about how I could give $500 and it would give a woman 50 years of her life back, it feels pretty good to think $10 gives someone a quality year. Right? And so, yes, maybe the process feels a little bit clinical, but the output does not at all. It is it is one of the things that I feel best about in how we go about things with our charitable giving.
Well, speaking of charitable giving, this year for Foolanthropy, we're giving to the Fistula Foundation. And for Bill Mann and myself, Mark Reith, we're going to turn it over now to the CEO of the Fistula Foundation, Kate Grant.
Hi, I'm Kate Grant. I'm CEO of Fistula Foundation. You may not know what fistula is, and I'd like to tell you about it. It's basically a childbirth injury. It affects about 1 million women living in Africa and Southeast Asia. You haven't heard about it because women in the United States and in developed countries in Europe and Asia don't have this problem because they have access to emergency obstetric care. But for women who give birth at home, which is the norm for most women in Africa, and don't have access to emergency obstetric care, their labor can go on for as long as a week. Their babies are usually born stillborn, and too often they wake up with a fistula, an injury that leaves them incontinent. That's a really hard truth, particularly given these women are generally young. It's usually their first birth, meaning they're in their late teens or early 20s. But the wonderful news is, the really great news, this problem is fixable. For about $450, a trained surgeon can go into an operating room, take that woman from a point where she's incontinent and too often a social outcast in her community, and give her back her health. That gift is priceless, partly because it pays dividends beyond just that woman. That woman is then able to go back into her community, back into her society, be a productive member of her economy and her community. We think that that's a great investment of your money. We hope you join us this holiday season, contribute generously to the Foolanthropy charity drive. We're honored and thrilled to be part of it. We hope you visit our website, fistulafoundation.org. Thanks for your time and happy holidays.